ready?
Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well.
It
so.
did. That,
Welcome to the PP1 podcast.
Oh, crap. I did it again. You know, you're supposed to hit record and then you hit play. Simple. So simple. And yet, 5 years. Had it all ready to go. I did. And I just did it again. Oops. I did it again.
It happens.
It does happen. Welcome to yet another episode. Maybe our best episode. You decide.
We don't even know.
We don't even know. The PP1 podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. You can also see that we are partnered with DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook app, promo code THPN. Don't worry. I'll tell you about that later. My boy Ted's back. You've had a bit of a week, eh? You've had a bit of a 2 days. Hasn't even been a week.
Well, I mean, I think in fairness, I think our friend Darren and Leah had a week with their getting into their house. So we had a bunch of false starts on moves, and then I had a weird truck maintenance breakdown. So I was banging out an oil change last night while you guys were podding on the Thanos show. But yeah, seems like things are back on track. Just waiting for some new rotors to come in so I can slam some new brakes on. Be good to go.
Vehicles have rotors. We're going a bit old school. I don't have an old school overlay, unfortunately. But I'm rocking the OG podcast logo.
Mm-hmm.
Little leather patch. You've also got the lifestyle brand. Very sharp. Very sharp.
In the hot pink.
Hot pink. It looks a little orange on screen, but that's just how
I think maybe because it's sitting next to
the vibrance.
Some pink overlay there. Up at the
Maybe the vibrance is, I don't know how many times I could say vibrance, but I feel like that may play. You know what? Screw it. Let's change it up. There we go. Let's have a little bit of fun.
Very what All-Star jersey was that?
This was original. Well, there was last year's All-Star jersey.
Was this color? Was the black and teal and
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they went, well, it was kind of a play on the 94.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because that was around Lillehammer and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
It was around the time that they were doing, I think it was McDonald's cards. They had all these jerseys come out. And
yes.
I remember, yeah.
Truer things have never been said. So, as we said, PP1 podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. If you happen to be following along on YouTube, maybe Facebook, comment along, have some fun, have a chat. We can talk about hockey with you if you'd like. And if not, that's fine. You can just watch. Heck, you can listen if this is the audio version tomorrow, which would be a Thursday, I think. So, we're going to talk some Canucks. We're going to talk about no pocket chainsaws this week. I decided that ran its course. I'm sure you've seen a ton of ads for them since then.
I haven't.
Oh, well, that's good.
I haven't.
maybe online algorithms have not.
I think my phone, my Google that is probably following me knows that I despise Ryobi, and so it's not showing me any of the Ryobi pocket chainsaws.
What you're not getting into is they're not the only ones that make one. I don't even think that was the first one I saw. I'm just gonna speak it into existence. Crap, now I see all this stuff.
You're gonna manifest destiny.
Stop. Yeah, I apologize. So yeah, you had some truck issues. Hey, I mean, you're talking about an oil filter. When was the last time you changed oil in your vehicle? Before yesterday?
A long time ago.
I think it was high school for me. Now that's not saying I can't do it. I don't remember much though. It
probably was about 5 or 6 years ago. Long time.
Okay.
Not coincidentally, not the same time that I last did an oil change on the truck.
That's probably for the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the last time I personally changed. Well, I'm like a grown ass man now. If I want to spend
I pay
$80
people
to get somebody to do it. I'm going to do it. The funny thing is that like to change the oil on the truck is actually really easy, but to change the oil on the car is like significantly more difficult because it's so low to the ground. You can't get under it without having
You can
to jack it
stand
up.
in the truck. You can
Yeah, I don't
basically
wanna-
be one with the truck. You can be a transformer.
Right. I don't want to jack up the truck. I'd rather, or the car. I'd rather just go under the vehicle. And if I can't go under it, I'm just going to get somebody else to do it. Because
I mean, you're already jacked up, so
yeah, sure.
CrossFit.
Yeah.
So
I haven't done that in like not since before the whole thing.
Did you see friend of the show or friend of the show with Sandy from Owner's Box? Do you see that tweet?
Sandy Plessis?
Yeah. Do you see he had a fit? Like he's like rate my fit. He's like be mean. Be as mean as you can. And it was him wearing like socks and sandals with like I think it was track pants and something else. And I said that he looked like an Amish guy doing CrossFit.
I think somebody like hacked his account like a while back because he was like messaging me, talking to me about like awesome, amazing opportunity on Bitcoin and all this like weird stuff. So I feel like somebody had hacked his account.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, is that you? And he was like, do you want to make money or not? I was like, I think that's him.
Put up or shut up, bro. Like, you want in? Yeah? No?
Are you some sort of prince in Africa trying to give money away?
Can you imagine if that prince actually existed and we've all just been fading him for years?
I saw a meme, and I know we'll get into Canucks talk shortly. But I saw like a meme, and it was just this pile of money, and it was like the guy's name was like it was like a really strong African name or whatever, and there was like a dude standing there, and like he looked like a prince or whatever, and it was like man leaves all this money behind. Family doesn't know what to do with it, and like underneath it was like poor guy's probably just been trying to give it away to somebody for years and doesn't have any takers. Like, do you remember when that was like the big scam? It
was, and it
was like an email scam, right?
Yeah, you'd be calling the news station. I remember contacting the news when it was still not in its infancy, but it was kind of a thing. Like, hey, and they're like, yeah, we get this call like every day. So you're not going to come talk to me? We aren't. We don't.
Yeah, and now like my buddy was like, he was like, I got a phone call from Amazon, and they were like, they had me download this app, and they were like, yeah, after you download the app, like just put your account number in there, and then authorize us signing on. And I was like, he's like, no, I don't feel good about this, and he like hung up the phone. I was like, oh my god, like I'm gonna have to like keep an eye on you when you get older, and we're the same age, so I was very concerned.
Oh yeah, just maybe don't open the door to strangers.
Yeah, I won't name names, but I was sketched out for a little bit there.
Gotcha. I saw a post. Speaking of posts, saw one the other day. I don't know why this is going around right now, like rain jackets. I think Wyatt, the stanchion, had something about a rain jacket, and he was promoting that. So a few people were kind of joking about the flex, like, wow, like you must be making some good money now. You can afford, the fancy rain jacket. And a few people posted like an Arc'teryx one, and they're like, all right, like we know who's rolling on Twitter now. Like we know who's got the cheddar. And I was thinking, so if that's like the Vancouver flex for somebody that's doing really well, like what's the Kelowna flex? Like not what's the
like what brand are your white sunglasses? Or
like I said, it's not the white sunglasses and the gold chain, but like for the common folk, what would be like the flex for Kelowna? And I don't really know if there is one.
Maybe tank tops, short shorts, winter jackets,
but like
boarding jackets.
Boarding jackets?
Boarding
Okay.
jackets, yeah.
If you have like a Burton snowboard jacket, you're doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that's probably pretty fair. I remember
boarding jackets, probably toques.
Like the big white toque. If you have a big white toque, because they're like $40.
Yeah, or it's like the big flex would be like, oh, like, man, look at that guy's winter tires. Like, look at those. He's probably got like Hecapolitas. Those are really expensive winter tires. I think I can't afford those. I have Nokians,
which is equally expensive.
That guy doesn't even have winter tires. I think he just has all seasons.
Yeah,
what a loser.
Mud and snow, like that guy's nothing.
Beat it, nerd.
Yeah. He's got the Firestone rain tires. Like, who has rain tires?
Yeah, that's the flex.
That's the flex. So tires are the flex out here.
That's tires. Yeah, sunglasses.
Interesting.
Like people flex with sunglasses out here.
Interesting. I mean, is that really a flex for sunglasses though? They're all made in the same place.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I mean, it is still a flex, but
Winter jackets and tires, maybe boots.
boots could be.
Yeah, maybe
Uggs.
boots.
I think that's everywhere. Uggs.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
those things are kind of uggy.
Final awesomeness, and then it's all Canucks talk from here on in. This is the big one, and I think this is going to be. This might divide some people. I think this might divide
ketchup, chips, potatoes.
No, ketchup chips are disgusting. First of all,
Wow.
Whoa! Just a second. We agreed on that.
Yeah, they're disgusting.
I like where this.
I don't even like dipping my fries in ketchup.
Well, I just don't like ketchup at all.
No, sugar sauce. No thanks.
It's disgusting. Barbecue sauce made from ketchup. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other argument. I feel like we've had this argument already.
You're like that substitute teacher, like the sub comes in and you get him talking by just asking a billion questions, and he's just happy to talk because the kids aren't being shitheads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Let's break it down. Well, thank you. Backhanded compliment. Not quite sure. Krispy Kreme donut fundraiser, because we don't have a Krispy Kreme in Kelowna.
Krispy Kremes.
Or
Krispy Kremes.
Wait.
Okay.
Just wait. That's a me thing to say. That's usually the answer. Or Girl Guide cookies fundraiser.
Krispy Kremes.
100%?
100%.
Not even maybe.
No doubt. Not even a question.
Really?
Now, if we're talking Girl Guide cookies, is it the mint cookies or is it the
Listen, man,
you've got twist cookies? It's mint.
You've got $5 to $10. You got $5 to $10, and they're side by side, and you got to spend $5 to $10.
Krispy Kreme.
You're all in on Krispy Kreme.
I'm all in on the Krispy. It would be nice if they were more fresh, but the fact that they have to come all the way from Vancouver, they're usually cold because somebody's spent the time to drive to Delta and come back. Shout out Delta.
Shout out.
They're usually not these nice, shiny Krispy Kreme donuts, but they still taste better than anything you can get out here from a donut shop.
I think
not a bakery that makes donuts, but a donut shop.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Caveat,
like Delicious or Lakeview Market.
They melt in your mouth.
You remember Lakeview Market's the Bismarck?
Yeah.
Straight up murder those things.
It's
then they came out with a mocha one. Over.
A Kelowna still is.
I can't do those. There's too much cream, and it's not its goodness. A little bit of cream I'm okay with, but they bombard you with it. At least with the Bismarck, it's whipped cream. It's not like
still the Krispy Kreme, even over the mint cookies. I love the mint cookies. But I had two girls that both did, Girl Guides and all that stuff, and brownies and Sparks, and I have had probably more of my fill than the average human of Girl Guide cookies.
You're going Krispy.
But if we're going back to donuts, though, it's got to be the Krispy Kreme. Mm-hmm. And one day, at some point, you and I will have to drive to Vernon to try out the Ratio Donuts Brian Martin. Just he was a local newscaster down there, but the Brian Martin it's a bakery made donut.
Yeah.
I think it's maple bourbon.
I feel like I've had that
with peanut butter and bacon.
I've had the Ratio donuts. I've made the trip.
The maple bourbon peanut butter bacon donut.
I feel like
because that one's not always available. It's only every once in a while, right? Because you don't know until the night before you have to pre-order.
Yeah, I did the pre-order. We did that on a spring break a couple of years ago.
And you got the Brian Martin?
I feel like we did.
Okay.
I'll check the emails. Maybe.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it was a really memorable experience for you, and it's probably really good.
I mean, when you get custom donuts, what's not to like? I go to 350 Bakery.
I haven't been there. There yet.
So they're not. I wouldn't put them Ratio,
Well, they're not a sponsor yet, so maybe say some nice things.
I mean, we go there every weekend, so I'm gonna say nice. They're amazing. We get free donuts once every month and a half because we're there so often and spend so much. It's worth it. It's 6 donuts. You want the box? Yeah. Absolutely, we want the box. It's perfect. Everybody gets 2. More than what Spider-Man gave Peter Griffin in Family Guy. Everybody gets 1 in that show. In this case, everybody gets 2. So I would go back to the cookies. I think I would go Girl Guide cookies though. As good as the Krispy Kreme donut is, I find it's over too quickly. The taste is great, but it's done.
But they're never available, Ryan.
They're available all the
How
time.
often are they really available?
Have you been?
You must have girl guides knock on your door like 5 times a year.
Well, I mean, we have access to. We just know so many people.
Do you know so many people that get you Krispy Kreme donuts?
Not as many, no.
Rest my case.
Okay, we're at a stalemate on this one.
Pretty sure I won this. No, I'm pretty sure I won.
Let's talk Canucks. Let's just move on. So the last time we recorded a show, the Canucks absolutely dummied the Oilers. I think we
took them up behind the tool shed.
Absolutely, like they old yellered the heck out of
They
Connor.
had Connor go pick a switch, bud.
Yeah, just what? Wow.
It was an old-fashioned beating.
It was an
JT took his belt off and he went to town.
Good. It was a good beating too. And then Saturday, they continued. Saturday was more realistic. Saturday was an actual win. It wasn't just like a slobber knocker.
Yeah. Then they took a beating, but like landed the knockout punch.
Yeah, exactly. And Casey DeSmith, who I'm beginning to think Joe Bartnick maybe didn't know what he was talking about.
Joe might not be the authority on Casey DeSmith.
Yeah, I mean, he did give us some good content. Thank you.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. I still don't know what Kennywood is. So
yeah, I don't know.
Maybe we should look into that. I might need to Google that later. But he looked stellar against a team that, I mean, how many moments in that game on Saturday were you thinking, oh man, they're going to tie it up. Oh, we're going to go behind. We're going to lose this game. Like, it just felt like inevitable that the Canucks were going to lose that game just because, well, that's how we're programmed.
Yeah. I think if I was to compare that feeling to, and it didn't obviously have the same level of hatred, but it was that feeling when the Canucks were tied or the Canucks were only up by 1 with like 5 minutes to play. And you know that it's a game against the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
And it's like they gain the zone and Patty Kane's got it on the boards and he's got it on the half wall. And you just feel it like it's coming, right? It's coming. Okay, he's done a circle.
Around the corner.
Okay, he's done a second lap. Shit, Sharp's open on the corner. He's going to shoot it. No, he's going to. No, he shot it. No, he beat him. Crap, it's over.
Yeah, game.
Like that's what it felt like. It was to that extent that my worry was like heightened, and I think it's weird to feel worried at game 2 of the regular season. But I think that first win had a lot to do with that. So yeah, it was a bit of a rope-a-dope win for them.
And they really pressed at the end, like when it was 6-on-5, and they just held their ground. Their every face-off felt like monumental. And they just kept holding the line. And then they cleared out, and that was ball game.
Yeah, some and again, we'll get into the game versus the Flyers a little bit here too, but it was I think I'm starting to see, at least in the first 2 games anyways, that level of like center depth, right? I mean,
totally.
Yeah, got JT is like strong to win some like important draws. PD's getting better. You got to throw in, eventually we're going to have Bluger back to do that type of stuff. Pius Suter is there. Puis Suter, sorry. Not to mention that there's other guys that can take draws now too, right? So you have like Dakota Joshua who can step in and take a draw if you need him to, or I think even Studnicka might be a guy that's taken draws before.
Right.
So there's like a little bit of a level there of guys that can sort of help out. I think Sam Lafferty is a guy who's got experience taking draws.
He had a big game too, hey? Mr.
Yeah, I mean,
Bulldog himself.
I liked watching that game, hearing all of the Torres comparisons, right? I mean,
yeah,
he's not Rafi Torres, right? I mean, that guy hit like a Mack truck, and when he felt like playing, guys just stayed away from him. But he's a big guy, and he skates well, and he's a heavy player, right? I mean, you need guys like that, and I think he really showed well. It was good to watch.
There's a lot of nice little pieces on this Canucks team, but before we get to the Flyers game, so Pettersson, second star of the week. Not a bad little nod. Kind of sucks Brock Besser didn't get billing on that. I don't know.
You have 4-goal game.
Yeah. Well,
you know what Joe Thornton would be doing if he had 4 goals in a game?
Cock-a-doodle-doo! But didn't happen, unfortunately. So whatever. Pettersson gets his due. Yes, it would have been nice to see Brock Besser get in there, but I mean, we're greedy. We'd like to see all of that happen. So Good for Petey. It's nice to see that early on he's getting the accolades that he deserves, and rightfully so. But then there was a game against the Flyers, and I was having to watch most of that at work on my Shaw account. Works out having Shaw Blue Curve, or whatever they call it now, Rogers Ignite, or whatever the heck that is.
Yeah.
I don't even know, but I've got it, and it was good. And the Canucks basically were hanging around there, trying to stay above water for 60 minutes, it felt.
Were they trying to stay above water? I think Thatcher Demko was trying to stay above water.
It looked like it.
I mean,
Thatcher Demko was swimming laps. Everybody else, he was dragging.
Yeah, like I know it was, I know it was Philly's home opener. Whatever.
And that
like
probably
I know
put something into it as well.
I know they were on a big high from having a couple of big wins versus Edmonton. Whatever. There's people grumbling about the fact they don't have all the bodies. Like, okay. There was the big bag. I don't want to call it a bag skate, but it was a pretty tough practice, I guess, from all accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Just reading on Talk It, and I think he wasn't super happy about some of the beatings they took during that last Edmonton game, and so that might have played a little bit of a part in. But I think the thing that was like probably most concerning is like all the effort I think that we've come to appreciate from this squad just in the last like couple of games.
Yeah,
kind of just evaporated versus Philly. It was kind of cool to see Sean Couturier do his thing. That was kind of a neat moment because he's been away from hockey for a pretty long time. But
that was such a beautiful goal.
Really
I know cool. It was a penalty shot, but just
he's a heck of a player too. So
just flawless move too. Like that's the kind of thing for the guys that are wicked at Chell that you pull off, and you're like, please, can you stop? It's like, or the guy that's really good at Madden that onside kicks every time and gets the ball.
Yeah. We know,
like we get it. We get it. You're good at sport.
Yeah. So like cool moment there. But like, I think, like I said, that the biggest concern was that try hard wasn't there. Right. I mean, I had heard or the Talk It comment, like, who are we to think we're anybody? And I feel like that maybe spilled into that game a little bit. Like they were riding a little bit higher in the horse, wasn't really sure what they were walking into in Philadelphia.
I mean, look who you just killed for 2 straight games.
Who cares?
Let's be honest.
Doesn't mean shit though.
No, it doesn't. But you go into that, and I'm sure that leaks a little bit into it too. I think. I mean, let's be honest. The first game, you own the guys that once again are going to be a Stanley Cup predictor, or a prediction, right, to win it all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that. And then you win a hard-fought game where your backup goaltender, stands on his head. You gut it out. You get some contributions from a few extra guys. And then you come into a game against Philly. And, I mean, you can't help but think it, though. Those are 2 massive games. The town's talking about it. All the media's going crazy. And then it wasn't a stinker, but...
it was a stinker, man. Like, what do you think that score is if
that's what I'm saying. It wasn't a stinker because they actually had a goaltender that...
Yeah, like what do you think happens if Demko doesn't make 40 saves in that game?
Oh, geez. That game's 6-7-0.
What if they played with that current level of fitness?
Yes.
That level. What if they played with that level versus Edmonton in either of those games?
They would have been dummied.
Like it would have been ugly. And yeah, like I get that it's Philly. Nobody's talking big business about Philly, right? But I mean, a bunch of hardworking dudes over there. Like, but yeah, they put the beat. It doesn't look like they were prepared, like at all.
So what does it look like against Tampa Bay tomorrow?
Well, isn't that kind
this
of
will date itself by the time? But do they take the best of or do they figure out both styles of game and think, okay, this is what it looks like when we don't show up. This is what it looks like when we put all of our eggs in one basket and let's win it. Let's put a Stanley Cup in one game.
Like this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. There has to be some happy medium there, right? I think it's going to be Demko.
Are you saying like it's okay to do a couple drugs? Is what you're trying to say?
It's obviously not, because look what happened. You get a 2-0 whipping, right?
No drugs. This is a drug-free show.
They're bad. Okay.
Drugs are bad. Okay.
Yeah, like they're gonna have to reset and maybe maybe this beatdown was what they needed. And it's still early and all that good stuff. And I think everybody's saying, it's only one game, it's only 2 games, it's only 3 games. But like, it's nice to know that, 4 of 6 have been collected. But I feel like don't you feel like they should have got at least 1 point out of that?
Yeah.
Out of that goaltending performance.
You're right. When you get a goaltender that stands on his head like that, it's almost like just put into, we can lose an OT and we're cool with that. But it wasn't even that. It wasn't even that.
So, yeah, a couple guys look real bad. I'm sure we'll get into that at some point. I feel like the whole first line had some tough games. I think I noticed Höglander a couple of times, but like just looking at the minutes here, he played like about 9 minutes around there. Like there's going to be changes. I think I don't know when Mikheyev is due back, or I would assume on this road trip. I don't know when Teddy Beluga gets back in the lineup. Susi looked like he was pretty decent out there, but I don't know. There's a bunch of guys that I'm just not really sure about at this point. And I think the Canucks have seen that as well. I think we just made a trade as well.
That's right. We're going to get into that.
So, yeah, this is not the team's final form, right? I mean, the initial wins were nice. I think we're
not even off the tarmac yet.
Yeah, the initial wins were nice. We're not playing with a full deck of cards yet, whatever cool thing that people say in that case.
We just said 2 pretty good ones.
Yeah. The tarmac
and cards. Yeah.
So I will be interested what this team looks like. Interested to see what this team looks like by game 10 or 12 when it's a little bit closer to like what the team might look like closer to like game 30 or 40. So
right. Yeah, that checks out. So yeah, let's get into the trade. Jack Rathbone is no longer a Vancouver Canuck. We get not Elliot Friedman, but is it Mark Friedman?
Yeah.
And that's a thing.
Yeah, Elliot Friedman plays for the Canucks now. He isn't that good of a hockey player, but he seems to have a lot of good insider knowledge on the other teams we're playing against.
So really, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Does this move the needle though, really?
I think it gives some guys some fresh starts. I think the Canucks have, always tried to be good about that. If a guy is looking like he needs a new opportunity. I mean, they honored, Mikey DiPietro in his trade just because you're a minor league guy and it's not working and they're not just going to leave you there. The rot is kind of what I'm feeling like on this. And like I said, DiPietro is a good example of that. And
it's a fresh start trade more than anything.
Yeah. And I think Rathbone is a talented guy, obviously. Right. I mean, and at one point in time, they believed in him too. They gave him a one-way deal, a one-way contract, right? So, I think it. I wish him all the success that he can get in Pittsburgh. And
can we stop trading with Pittsburgh though?
No, I don't think we're going to be able to stop trading with Pittsburgh. I think that's just going to be a thing. But and then Carl Plesik's the other guy.
Yeah, that was the one I think you knew a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I like Plesak. I think he was a neat story. He was a coach's kid. I think he's a Czech player or Slovak. I'm gonna call him Czechy, I guess.
Or
now.
Czech.
I think coach's kid played pro hockey out there. Came over now a couple of times, and I think I had hopes for him to just turn into some sort of a diamond in the rough, but he's going to move now to a new franchise and hopefully he gets a fresh start. And then they get their hands on a guy like Mark Friedman, who I think solves a bit of a need for them on defense. He's probably going to play on that third pairing now. I believe he's a right-handed shot. It's kind of
is he getting right into the lineup?
I don't know if he's going to go in right away, but who knows? I mean, he's been a pretty decent AHL player over the last couple of years. I was, looking at Dave Hall's article on Canucks Army. He's got like a bit of an offensive bent to his game. He can move pucks out. Every photo that I find of this guy online, he's got a nasty ass look on his face, and he's like seems to be causing shit with people. So he looks like he's a little bit more physical. Like I don't know. Juleson has had 3 tough games now. Even in that 8-1 win, he had some big mistakes. So.
Right.
I think he's gonna slot in the lineup. We can talk about Juleson as well. But then the other guy that comes back is Ty Glover. He's another NCAA player, big body. He's got a little bit of hands, some development that will happen there. And he reminds me a little bit of current Canuck Dakota Joshua. So Yeah, we'll see what they can gather out of this guy, but he doesn't quite fit the regular prototype of players that Vancouver's had in their system the last little while because he's bigger. So he skates decently. He's a bigger guy at 6'3", and he plays a physical game. He's got some hands, a little bit undeveloped. Bowling Green University, so college free agent signing. So we'll see what they can do with it.
Juice will be a big fan.
Yeah, exactly. Big Juice guy. Yeah, all the Bowling Green alum, right?
Does it feel like there's a lot of trade talk right now? Like I know the hubbub is Connor Garland, and now that Luke Shen got injured, so now it sounds like Nashville is kind of dialing back. Like, if it's still like a Fabro trade, then they're going to have to throw something else into it. But I mean, this whole Connor Garland thing, like I know the media is making a big deal about this. Let's just not. How about? Let's just leave that alone and I know that's their job to keep things going, but it feels like they've now latched onto a new guy, and it's not JT Miller anymore. It's not Brock Besser. So they just have this new, toy that they need to chew on. And it's just, I don't know. I just felt annoyed about it this week. Like, I think like 2 years ago, we'd all be like, every possible storyline we're jumping at. And I don't know. I'm getting bored of okay, next guy. This guy doesn't fit as far as the cap goes. He's the most obvious, so let's create a narrative so we can get him out of town.
But like, just to challenge that a bit,
I'm here.
Doesn't every season of every version of every Canucks team have a guy that people are looking to trade? Like, even when we were running to the cup, what was everybody talking about?
Raymond Ballard in a second. Yeah.
And it was all people talked about. It never materialized into anything. I think
the big thing though for me, Ted, is that like maybe like I said, I think I'm just sick of it. I'm just, maybe we draw a line where like maybe things aren't so great. Let's just roll with it for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to have to.
That doesn't sell subscriptions. That doesn't get clicks. That doesn't get listeners, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, like Kevin Weeks tweeted out, was it today, that it sounds like the Canucks are willing to retain salary now, something like up to 30%.
Yeah.
Do we think that's a great idea? Like, I don't know. Like, should we be retaining salary? I mean, if we're going to be retaining salary, we have to, and it's 30%. What's that number that comes back as an NHL player that's coming to this roster? Because
isn't that the whole point, though, is to get rid of the contract? Isn't the reason you
right.
don't want to get rid of Connor?
So you can't take something with term then, unless it's something that you see as a fit with your team moving forward. But if they're going to take a salary back, like, what's that number now? What's 30%? So it's 4.95. So they're going to retain 30% of that. They got to clear up what, $2.5 million in cap space.
Yeah. Isn't the whole point to clear all of it? Is what I'm
saying? That's exactly what did we really think that taking a bunch of salary is the right way to do it? If not, like, why do we have to give a sweetener? Garland's like a good player. This team is going to need good players to support lines throughout this lineup. And how I think this whole thing goes away, Ryan? Is if they just win some games and Garland starts putting up points.
But I mean, did he not have two pretty decent games against Edmonton?
Sure. But yeah, he's got to be here for a bit while that's happening, right?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a grown-up now, which sucks. But it's every single year. There's always a guy that is just cannon fodder. And I don't know.
I bet you we could go through this exercise. Probably not right now, or maybe sometime between you and me. I think we could go through every roster for the past 10 years, and we could talk about which players were traded.
We could probably go further than that, realistically.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, Kessler, Bieksa had their years. We've had the Naslin years. We've had Bertuzzi years, the Luongo years.
Yeah, we had Verbata years. We had Hamhuis years.
Yeah. Like, my goodness. Bure.
Yeah, Todd Bertuzzi years.
Everything. Speaking of all those guys, I don't know. It's funny. This week's episode just kind of had a theme, it seems. So Gretzky almost happened here. We all know that story. Messier did happen here. Sundin did happen here.
Don't say his name.
I'm trying. Yeah, don't worry. It's not like I'm going to lose my internet connection because I said it. Sundin did happen. Is there a late career guy that the Canucks could go after still and actually get? Like, who would be the guy right now? And I mean, geez, we talk about Pittsburgh and that sounds so stupid, but like, is there like a remote possibility, like an Evgeny Malkin comes over late in his career? Like, I'm using him as an example, but let's be honest, like the Canucks have hit a couple home runs, whether they thought so or not at the time. I mean, the Matt Sundin thing was so outlandish, and yet it did happen. And he was their best player in the playoffs.
I feel like Sundin was like pretty unique, right? Because he was still a pretty high end player, right?
But he wasn't. He was pretty close to the end, though.
He was. No, that was the end, right? But
Yeah.
he was still very established, right? Because Toronto was still depending on him at that point.
Mm-hmm. So, like, who's somebody that's left still that the Canucks could go after?
I don't think they can. Okay, so
a lot of stuff too.
We're gonna have to put some things in play for this exercise to work, right? I think. Who are some guys that the Canucks could go after because they're in a really good playoff position? They now realize that they're for real because it looks like they're going to win 45 games this year, and the West looks weak, and they can challenge for the cup, right?
Okay, so there's like a weird scenario that
there has to be, or else there is no player that comes this way, right? So
humor me.
Like you could maybe go get your hands on maybe like an Alex Goligoski. He's an old guy. He's like 38. We could use him on D.
That doesn't move the needle.
We could go and get like a Ryan Suter or a Joe Pavelski would be a good one. It's assuming like Dallas is way out of it. I've always been like a Mark Giordano guy. I really like Mark Giordano. I don't think the Leafs are going to be bad though, so I don't see him being moved. And the last guy on this list probably that maybe could be moved and the relationship is there and the team has to be good is probably like a Jeff Carter out of Pittsburgh.
Interesting.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of, I mean, who's going to want to come out here to finish their career in the dumps, right? Not to say the team is
that's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you go down this list and think of everybody so Giordano currently playing for Toronto, Pavelski, the Stars, you got other old guys like all these guys are 38, but Marc-Andre Fleury's in Minnesota, Carter, Pittsburgh, Suter, Dallas, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare is in Tampa. Brent Burns would be a fun one, but he's in Carolina. They're going to make the playoffs. And the last guy's Goligoski. So, like, I don't think any of those guys are available, man. Like,
what about like Jamie Benn?
I mean,
like a reclamation project.
I know that's a pull at your heartstrings thing.
It's not. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, is Jamie Benn done?
I mean, didn't he have like a pretty solid year last year?
I don't remember.
Like, I think he was really good last year. That was like his big bounce back year. Rolled into the season, 78 points, 33 goals.
So that's not bad.
Yeah, especially after seasons of like 39, 35, 46. It was a big jump. He's already got a goal this year in 2 games. I think they'd be hard pressed to get their hands on a guy like Ben.
What about like Nick Bonino? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Only if Ryan Kessler was to come back.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just think that's interesting because they get Kuzmenko a year ago. They're somehow managing to keep the Quinn Hughes thing going.
Mm-hmm.
A
lot of that's based on opportunity, right?
Sure. I'm going to hold out hope that the Elias Pettersson thing does pan out, even though realistically, if things do kind of go sour, if I'm Pettersson, I'd be gone. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see that if there was a guy, that wants to kind of fade out, but still have a decent impact on a team. I think that'd be interesting.
Is Zach Parise still out there?
Oh, maybe. You know whose name I heard again, and you're going to roll your eyes. Did you hear?
Zach Parise is calling it a career.
So no.
That's too bad.
I saw name of the show. He plays defense. And apparently Wiley Canuck Friedman linking Damon Severson to the Canucks after getting benched in the third.
Hmm.
Interesting.
But what do you got to give up to get Damon Severson?
I don't know.
Right? I mean, that's a fun thing.
And he just signed
a huge contract,
an 8-year, $50 million deal. That's a lot of money.
Like, how do you afford that?
And stand up to it and stand up to that move. Because, I mean, what does he bring to this defense that, I mean, obviously talent, but you bring a guy like that in, well, you clearly are going to have to move something out to fit him in. Like, you can't get rid of, like, you'd have to be getting rid of Tyler Myers, and that's only 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to get rid of Connor Garland.
I just think it would be irresponsible to sign a guy
it'd be reckless.
To sign how old is he? 29?
29, yeah.
29-year-old defenseman to a 6-year deal. Hard pass.
Yeah. Enough teams are doing that. Geez, the Canucks do that already.
Hard pass. Thanks, though.
Interesting. Anyway, just something I'd been chewing on.
Isn't there like currently a right-handed defenseman on the roster that you'd want to like prioritize signing first? Just gonna throw that out there. Maybe look at securing yourself a Filip Hronek first.
Yeah.
Who's going to cost more than that, likely?
Well, he already did. He cost a first-round pick.
Yeah, but I mean, we're going to have to pay for him now too.
Sure. Yeah, we've had enough of a sample size so far. I believe we like him. Yeah. Seems like he fits. Yeah. Seems like he fits on this team. And then, so we've talked about Connor Garland, Casey DeSmith. We can talk about goaltending for a minute here. Casey DeSmith is a pretty nice fit on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we are making, as I had, where's my little graphic here? Way too early overreactions. But at the same time, goaltending has been so far. I mean, game 1 really didn't matter a whole lot because it just didn't. Game 2 was important, and game 3 was important for different reasons. Goaltending has been so far one of the strong suits that maybe hasn't been talked enough yet, just mainly because everyone's talking about trades.
I can always talk about goaltending. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Big reverse VH fan myself. But yeah, I don't know. I do like what Casey DeSmith. It's one of those things. I mean, that game could have gone another way too, and we could easily be saying, yeah, like, well, at least he's just a backup.
Want an interesting fact?
Yes.
So we were just talking about Damon Severson's $6.8 million contract. That is actually the cap hit for both Thatcher Demko and Casey DeSmith combined.
The wolf.
Yeah.
I know who I'd rather have. 2's better than 1.
Yeah, I mean, but they don't get to play at the same time.
You know what? 2's better than 1.
Yeah, it's been really nice. I think because it's been a while, I think, since we've had that like veteran backup that's been able to just like carry it like a veteran, right? I mean, we had Yaroslav Halak in here. I feel like he barely even played. It was like a blip on the radar. But Casey DeSmith is a current veteran backup goaltender, right? I mean, I think he had a chance to become a starter for a period of time. I think he's really settled into that role as backup, right? And there's surprisingly not a ton of goalies in this league that are just like dialed into being just specifically the backup. And I think a lot of times, and rightly so, teams want to spend that roster spot on like a developmental player.
Right.
And I think that's great. But this team has been doing that for so long now that it's time that we need some sort of consistency to help Thatcher Demko out. And not only have Demko out, but also to help this squad out too, to know that when the backup gets in there, that it's not really going to be a humongous fall off. And we'll see, right, with the rest of the season, how it pans out. But I think as long as he stays in that role and he's not overworked, that DeSmith will be a quality person to have, both on the roster, you know, and in the locker room as like a veteran guy. I think the team with young guys on it is really, it's nice to have, you know, the DeSmiths of the world, the Ian Coles, Susie is a little bit older, right? I mean, there's finally some guys on this roster. I mean, you can probably include Puis Suter and Teddy Bluger as well that are just a little bit older.
Yeah.
And I think that takes a little bit off of like the 21, 22, 23 year olds that we've had on this roster now for like the past, you know, 3, 4, 5 seasons to start to just mix in some solid veterans now. And I think Cole has been a guy that I've been really stoked about.
Here's the thing I was just thinking about. So goaltending, it's such a unique position, right? I mean, there's one spot. And when you get a guy locked into your number one, like a Demko or a Jacob Markstrom or any number one goaltender, you've got that guy that he's your guy, right? But you do need a backup.
Yeah.
Do you think having an established backup makes you play, or I don't know, how do I word this? As you're getting those games, you know that you don't have to worry about, like, maybe mentally, like, thinking about the next game, even though I know it's a game at a time, but knowing that, hey, like, I know, because I'm sure they kind of tell them, like, hey, you're going to get start X after this game or whatever. Sometimes, if it's a back-to-back or whatever, but
Like
knowing,
scheduled
like,
starts, yeah.
yeah, if everyone, and even in the media, if there's a scheduled start, but you kind of know, like, hey, I can stand on my head and they're going to play like this, but I also have a guy that's going to be able to basically earn a win, and I don't have to think like, oh, maybe mentally I'm going to have to be kind of ready to come in instead of just getting the night off completely, mentally and physically, and coming back. Like, there's got to be something to that as well, and not looking at what, like you said, what we've had in kind of this a little bit of a rotating, bench spot for, whether it's been, Spencer Martin, or we've had, the quick shot of Mikey DiPietro or Seelovs or whoever seems to come in just because of injuries. But now you kind of look and like, hey, like, we've got this. We've got a guy that can come in. The team can be confident. It goes back to that tandem thing, I guess, right? Like, like a pitching rotation, as I've been trying to make happen for years. I do think there's something to that as well, and I think that makes a big deal for a team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes a difference. I think it's you're really like entrenched in that role of like just being a role player, right? Like, you have a very specific role on this team, and it's very well defined, and you're accepting of that spot, and you play it to a T. I think anytime there's no mincing words about what your role is and what your job is to do, and I think like Bluger and Suter have no questions about what their role is on this team. Ian Cole has no question about what his role is on this team, right?
Depth guys. Yeah.
Depth guys, right? Like, guys that are going to play tough minutes, starts in the defensive zone. We're going to play peaky, first and second unit, right? We're not expecting, Suter to go out and pop 20. We're not thinking that Bluger's going to go out and get himself 40 points, right? They have a very specific role to anchor specific lines. And I think that filters down through to your goaltending, right? I mean, we know Casey DeSmith, that you're going to play 20 to 30 games this year. And it's important for you to have scheduled starts. And you're not in there as a Corey Schneider trying to establish yourself to move into the next spot to earn and take more starts. You know what I mean? You're working under a specific man, being the number two, and that job, right? I mean, Casey DeSmith's days as wanting to pine and push for a number one job are probably gone. But that doesn't make him an unuseful player.
He's still valuable in a different way.
He's still valuable. He still's got his spot because he's really entrenched in that media of games that he's supposed to be receiving. So totally. I think that not only does that, like, it sort of instill not so much confidence, but this level of consistency with knowing all the facts with the rest of your team. Mm-hmm. But it also, like, probably changes the relationship from the starting goaltender to the backup goaltender. From if it was Seelovs up and he was playing under Demko, completely different story. It's not to say that Seelovs isn't a better goalie than DeSmith, or that he can't become a better goalie than DeSmith, but Seelovs, as he's up here,
he's developing too.
He's a young pro, and he's hungry, and he's going to be playing for starts, and he's going to be challenging Demko to try to take that stuff away from him. Exactly. Some guys don't need that. Luongo wasn't a great guy for that. No. Right? Luongo didn't like having that. He liked being the guy. I know I'm the guy. I know who the backup is, and I'll handle it from here, and I'm not going to get that challenge, right? A challenge was always good, whether he knew it or not. But some guys like to have that versus some guys need to have that push. And I think it's important for, all coaches and all rosters to understand which buttons to push. The only thing I don't think they like about DeSmith is the fact that he makes like $1.8 million. And that's probably
more than you'd like a backup to make.
Yeah, I think that's at least $800,000 more than they wanted him to make.
But sometimes, and it kind of sucks because they're probably in the wrong cycle.
Yeah.
But to have a backup making that, in the right cycle, your confidence is there because he's making enough money, or he's making enough money that he's earned that guaranteed backup role, as opposed to, $900,000 or even $1 million, where you're thinking like, well, the turnover,
Absolutely.
we're okay with turnover.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I think don't discount the fact that he could play 25 to 30 solid games for this franchise and make himself a really nice trade target.
yeah,
Maybe there's a team with a really solid starting goaltender that they're not sure about
Tampa.
because he's young,
Just kidding.
and they need a solid backup, right?
Yeah.
Because the rest of the guys that they have are minor league guys, or guys that haven't proven themselves, or guys that they have a good starter, but they've had a wonky backup. Like so many Canucks teams this last little bit. Yep. I think the Canucks, if they were a playoff team the last like 2-3 years, with Demko and net as the number one, would have been happy to trade for a guy like Casey DeSmith to have on the roster for a just in case insurance policy.
Well said. Well said. Let's finish off strong.
Okay.
I want to bring this up at the beginning of the show. Our baseball season is over.
Okay. Yeah.
We did have a good run.
We did have a good run. Yeah.
Our fall ball ended up being not quite as great as our spring ball, but you came back from heart surgery, and you are basically our Masterson Award winner. We had
for great work in the community and perseverance.
Yeah, great. Or what's the word? Not Masterson. What's the other one?
I think
what's the perseverance one?
I don't know. Well, you keep going. I'll look it up.
Anyway, so we had the Shaka Award, right? The player of the game, everything. It felt like our team bonded this year. But I mean, folks, our boy Teddy comes back after somewhat of a decent. Pardon me.
Bill Masterson.
Yeah, I got it. Masterson, I got it right. Comes back from heart surgery. No big deal. It's only like a major life event for him and his family. And folks, he figured it out. First couple games in the last week or two, like elbow was a little high, little bit higher than it should be. And I came out and I whispered to him, I'm like, your elbow.
It's an elbow whisper.
Elbow whisper. And what does this guy do? Him and our boy Brad, they combine for. Did you hit a dinger on Sunday? I wasn't at that game.
I didn't. I had one go to the fence, but I didn't hit one out.
Yeah. So the two of them combined, and I think you had 3? They combined for 7 dingers.
This is my brother-in-law too, which is pretty funny. Yeah.
7 dingers in 4 games. And dead center field. Teddy's an athlete. It was so great to see him back. So, it's a shame our season's over. I'm going to miss this team so much because now we don't get to play baseball until the spring.
Mm-hmm.
But my goodness. Sports are great. Sports are so much fun. Like, that was so much fun to watch. Like, when you watch a guy like Ted up at the plate, like, there's guys that can hit home runs. And there's the guy, like, we played some teams where they just obliterate a ball every single at bat, and you pitch accordingly. You just hope they keep it in the park and somebody catches at the fence. When they pitched to Ted and our boy Brad, I feel bad for the pitcher because we all know what's about to happen, and we tried doing the silent treatment on these two guys, and we couldn't help it. Like, we were all so excited. It was a good finish to the season. I got to pitch. Thank you, Steve and Alyssa, for allowing me to be the pitcher of record because you decided fall ball.
Yeah, you pitched well. It was good. Yeah.
It was a good time, even though, as you said, it sounded like most of the teams did not enjoy my pitching, which is fine. I don't get to hear that.
That's why, right? So yeah, I caught for Ryan this weekend, so it was a lot of fun.
Erratic mostly.
For anybody that thinks it's weird, it's not slow pitch. It's regular, like orthodox half windmill pitching. So I got to pitch to Ryan. He pitches it real slow, which I think screws a lot of guys up, and a lot of people were disliking you and your pitch speed and your mustache. But screw those guys. I don't think you got a single dinger hit off you this weekend.
I didn't. That was actually my claim to fame. I did not give up. Might have given up an in the park one based on terrible outfield.
It was all fly balls or it was all hard grounders and cans of corn. So it was
a good
lot
time.
Of fun.
There was another mustache out there that was equally impressive.
He had a good mustache too. It was fun being in the lineup like 3-4 with Brad. There was like 3 separate occasions where we hit back-to-back dingers and they just yanked the pitcher from the game, which was pretty fun. I've never had that happen before.
It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling as a teammate, that's for sure. Because we're all just giggling like little kids. They're like, that was fun. Do that again. And then they do it again. And you're thinking, well, they don't have any other pitchers. So
that's good. I can't believe that's the first time we've sat like that in the lineup. We're going to have to do that again.
I think we figured it out. We're going to go all the way next year. Yeah. So a lot of fun.
No more semifinals. We're going to get it done this time.
Well, yeah. I'm sick of losing. Oh, and one more thing. So we've got 2 more things here. I said 1, but I meant 2.
It's okay. So we have 3.5 minutes left, 4.5 minutes.
That's fine. We got this. So first and foremost, I don't know if anybody saw this on Twitter today. Ted has a knack for posting updated Facebook photos every like 6 months. And usually when he does, the boys on our football show, as well as myself, we try to rib into him. So we're going to have to do our own version of that, Ted. I don't know.
I should submit that as the picture in the flowered shirt is my actual work photo.
Yeah.
But I should submit this version as my new work photo.
It's pretty good. I was going to put Ted Brothers on that, but it just felt weird. So
I thought maybe you would Photoshop my hand on my shoulder.
It's tough, man. You didn't give me much to work with that. I had to figure that out myself. I'm sorry. Now, here's the one thing I did miss, and we've got a couple minutes, so this is why I'm going to bring it up. So there's a game on Sega Genesis. Do you remember this? Mario Lemieux Hockey?
Yeah.
So there's like a code you can put in.
Look how small that goalie is.
I know. Minuscule. You could fit him under the crossbar. So there was a cheat code you could put in, which sometimes screwed the game up, that you can have black, or in this case, it looks charcoaly, ice. Do you think there's a world where the NHL entertains like maybe the All-Star game or something like that?
Black ice?
Black ice.
Were they going to have white pucks?
Sure. Pink, white, teal.
Yeah, why not?
Seriously, do you think that's something that...
Well...
I mean, it's easy to do in a video game. You just change the color.
So if I remember this correctly, and it was like my grandpa that it was explaining this to me, that the ice back in the day was not white. It looked like dirty gray. Because
like all the old NHL photos.
Yeah, because they just put ice over concrete before.
That would make sense.
And nowadays they paint the floor white before applying the ice, which is why, because the ice is not white. A lot of people think
it's all painted. Yeah.
So maybe, like, why not? I mean, people are all the purists and stuff. Like, technically, it is how they used to do it back in the day. But yeah, do something fun, like do a neon or a white puck or something like that. Make sure it has like a streak behind it. Or...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if we're gonna do this, I'm gonna need my team with me.
We're gonna go full corny.
Exactly. I was thinking about that. I'm like, it'd be kind of neat, black ice. So NHL competition committee, All-Star game, whatever, make it happen. Do it for us.
Make it happen.
So that's pretty much it, man. We're done.
Cool. That was fun.
We're done. Another week in the books. By this time tomorrow, the Canucks likely will have beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 5-1, which sounds crazy to say.
No, we need like...
But I remember
we need like a 3-2 win where the game is really even. That's what we need.
Why? Don't you want to know that the Canucks...
Because I don't want any more of this.
Oh, you don't like the dipsy dives?
No.
Okay.
I think I don't want that.
So you want close games all season?
I just want them to be like, I want to understand a little bit more about what the true version of this team is. That's all.
Okay. So 5-1 doesn't do that for you.
We've had like this effort. We've had this effort with a beatdown, and then we've had this effort.
Okay.
So I need like, I want to know what the real version is.
I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. That was a song reference.
Yeah, I got you.
You got me. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I think it was that not on like Karate Kid 2 or something like that?
I don't even think
Knight in
seen the
Shining
second
Armor.
Karate Kid. I think I've seen only the first. I think I've only seen the first one.
God, you gotta watch it.
I'm just figuring out Ted Lasso. Okay.
Okay, that's also very good.
It is very good. I appreciate that. That's what is stopping the belief sign. So this is the PP1 podcast, everybody. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for sharing 59 minutes with us today, this evening, whichever you're listening, watching. We do appreciate it. Go check out our YouTube. Go check out our Twitter. Give us a follow. I got a few like swag things left. I wouldn't mind giving away to somebody that follows the show. I'm also going to give Ted's family first dibs on what I've got left before we actually put it out there. But yeah, give us a follow. Thanks for following us 5 years now. This has been great. Also, welcome back to Trust the Process, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. They're back doing their show again. Wyatt and Bowman, they gave us a shout out, so it's only fair we do the exact
they did?
same. Yeah, they did. It was very nice. They even give our football show a shout out. Those are friends.
Are you talking to those boys or something? I like those guys.
They just, yeah, we got to have them. They're always fun. We got to have some stupid, goofy show. I know Wyatt's super busy with.
Sometimes I'm like, man, Wyatt is a funny dude. I think he's funnier than Bowman. And then other times I'm like, well, Bowman's pretty funny right now. Maybe he's funnier than Wyatt. I'm not sure.
It's neck and neck.
They're just both so great.
It's anytime they've been on our show, it's been a good time. So we'll have to schedule our seasonal episode with those two. But anyway, I'm ranting and rambling again. PP1 Podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. We are also brought to you by DraftKings, promo code THPN. Get on that sportsbook app. Go make some bets. Go win some money. DraftKings, promo code THPN. That's it, my friends. Let's watch some Canucks. Let's watch this Eastern road swing. Go Canucks, go. Peace out.